Our next speaker is Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, who serves the 8th Congressional District of New York. As a member of Congress, he has worked hard to help residents impacted by Superstorm Sandy, reform our criminal justice system, and improve the economy for hardworking Americans and make college more affordable. These are only a number of the many tasks he has accomplished so far. In addition, Congressman Jeffries serves in many committees and is a tireless advocate for social and economic justice. Please welcome Congressman Hakeem Jeffries.
To Dr. Rahman, Dr. Chowdhury, to my colleagues in government, Lewis, and certainly the distinguished public advocate, my good friend, Tish James, and to the many different MUNA leaders who are here and the distinguished imams. It really is an honor and a privilege to be with you today on this important occasion in the life of this organization, but more importantly, this important occasion in the life of our community, our city, and certainly our country. Democracy is better off when the Muslim American community is fully and completely engaged. Abraham Lincoln once publicly pondered the question more than 150 years ago, how do we create a more perfect union? And he asked that question, of course, in the context of the Civil War that was raging at the time, threatening to tear this country apart. And since that moment, year after year, decade after decade, century after century, we've made tremendous progress in America. But of course, it's still relevant for us to ask the question, how do we create a more perfect union? One of the great American liberators, Frederick Douglass, once made the observation that power concedes nothing without a demand. It never has and it never will. And so if the Muslim American community is to take its rightful place amongst the gorgeous mosaic in our American democracy, nothing will be handed to the community. It's important for the community to go out and engage in the way that so many others have when they've come to these great American shores and certainly to the city of New York. And I'm privileged as a member of the United States Congress to have the opportunity to represent such an incredibly diverse district and a very strong and vibrant Muslim American community. I represent Muslims from the African continent. I represent Bangladeshi American Muslims, Pakistani American Muslims, Turkish American Muslims, African American Muslims. And regardless of the country of origin, what's been clear to me from the very beginning, as a member of the Assembly and subsequently as a member of the United States Congress, the Muslim American community that I serve is a hardworking, entrepreneurial, spiritual, community-centered, family-oriented community that is here to make New York City a better place than the one in which you inherited. And there have been some important victories. And you've got tremendous advocates, like the Assemblyman, and of course, my former councilwoman, who now represents the entire city of New York in such a dynamic fashion, Public Advocate James. And others like Grace Meng, who I serve with down in the United States Congress, and of course, Congresswoman Yvette Clarke, the neighboring Assemblywoman. You've got allies throughout this city at every level of government, at the city level, the state level, and of course at the federal level. And it's important to acknowledge that as a result of your advocacy, there's been some changes that have been positive. And of course, in our public school system now, there are Christian holidays, there are Jewish holidays, and there are Muslim holidays. That's a victory that you should be proud of. And down in the Congress, I'm a member of the Congressional Black Caucus, and I'm proud to serve with two of my good friends, Keith Ellison, one of the most dynamic, progressive, respected members of the United States Congress, who happens to be the first Muslim American elected to the United States Congress, and then, of course, Andre Carson, who's another young, dynamic Congress member, who earlier this year was appointed by Nancy Pelosi, you may know, to be the first Muslim American to serve on the high-powered Intelligence Committee in the United States House of Representatives. That's progress. But it comes as a result of advocacy that you've engaged in, and there's still a lot of work to be done. And one last point that I'll make, and then I'll take my seat. I'm really just a warm-up act for Tish James, is that last year at some point in time, you may recall, the name Ray Kelly was floated to be the Secretary of Homeland Security. And many of us in the Congressional Black Caucus, and those of us who've been fighting for justice in the city of New York, like Public Advocate and others, had an immediate reaction that was adverse. I respect the fact that Ray Kelly is a talented law enforcement professional and served the city of New York as best that it could as our commissioner. But those of us in the Congressional Black Caucus came to the conclusion that it can't be the case that the architect of stop and frisk and the unconstitutional Muslim surveillance program could get promoted from police commissioner to the Secretary of Homeland Security. And guess what? When we spoke up on that very point, he was not nominated. That's a step in the right direction. It shows that people respect your engagement. And so I would just say, as we continue along this path, don't be deterred. Adversity is always going to come your way. There will always be people like Dr. Ben Carson and others who are going to have an un-American perspective parading as if it's America. We say over in Bedford-Stuyvesant that I represent, haters are going to hate. But don't worry about those haters. The Muslim American community that I represent is a community that embraces love. And as long as you continue to embrace that love of your family, love of faith, and love of country, the best is yet to come. God bless you. Assalamu alaikum.